Hey y'all, it is Jocelyn here from flippedlifestyle.com and the Flipped Lifestyle podcast. Today I'm going to answer a question from one of our audience members, Fatima, and I hope I said that right. Fatima writes, how do you manage your time with everything else you have going on? I love this question because I think it's something that a lot of us have asked before and probably will ask again. I've been doing this about 6 years now, and I still have to ask myself this question from time to time. So, wanted to address a few things about not having enough time. This one is something that's really important to me. It's something that Shane and I have learned sometimes the hard way. It would be fun to take this question on today. So, first of all, let me say that I think all of us, especially as women, as wives and moms, I mean, I know I can say that, speaking for myself, that a lot of us, and this is men included, put too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect in every area of our lives. And if there were a list of people who put way too much pressure on themselves, I'm pretty sure I would occupy slot number one, or at least pretty close. So I totally understand what you're going through. Like if you're saying, yes, this is me, I'm a person who puts way too much pressure on myself, you're not alone because I do this too. I'm really, really bad about it. Just some examples, like we strive to be a great spouse. We strive to be a great parent. We strive to be a good child to our parents. We try to be a good extended family member. We try to be a good employee if you still work for someone else. We try to be a good business owner if you've already started your own business. We try to be a good friend. And all of these things are good things. It's just the pressures from all of them sometimes will start to weigh on us. And on top of all those things, if you're anything like me, we also expect ourselves to have a clean house. We expect to have a neat yard. We want to cook healthy meals. We want to work out regularly. We want to have downtime to enjoy hobbies. We want to host parties at our house, among many, many other things. So today I'm going to speak a little bit of truth, and it might be a little bit hard for some of you to hear. And I know this because it's still hard for me to hear this sometimes. But being able to get a handle on these principles will help you in all areas of your life. Started. Well, we have a finite amount of time. Time is one of the things that we can never get more of. Everyone on this planet has 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's 168 hours. So you might ask yourself, okay, well, if everyone has the same amount of time, why are some people more successful than others? Well, time is a little bit like money. So what I mean by that is the more you spend on a particular thing, the more you prioritize it. For just a minute. And I'm actually going to say it again because I think that it's a really important thing to realize. The more time you spend on something, the more you prioritize it. When Shane and I first started our online businesses, we had to take a really hard look in the mirror. We had to figure out what we were currently spending time on and figure out some ways to take some of that time back. And this meant that our priorities had to change. So we had to get crystal clear on what we really wanted and figure out whether or not we were actually doing the things that it took to get to where we really wanted. And here's a spoiler alert. We were not doing the things that we needed to do. Okay. So what we did is we took out a big piece of paper, like a really big rectangular piece of paper, and we drew 168 small rectangles on it. And took a little, drew a lot of rectangles. So we drew columns and we drew rows and we just mapped it all out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we actually took a week to label that with our actual activity. So we didn't do any thinking, okay, should I do this or should I do that? We didn't do anything like that. We just labeled it with what we actually did for 1 week. At the end of the week, we started looking at it and we knew that we needed to cut some stuff if we were going to be successful, if we were going to be able to grow this business. So we started looking at different things on our calendar. Did we really need to spend 3 or 4 hours watching TV every week? What about the 30 minutes on social media here, the hour there, playing those online games on your phone? Did the whole family need to go to the grocery store? We were cooking to be able to cook less often. So these are some of the questions that we were asking ourselves after we did this first calendar. And we knew that our goal was to leave our teaching jobs. And we knew that in order to be able to do that, we were going to have to make some significant changes in the way we were spending our time. So some of the things that we did, and we've talked about this on other shows, but we cut cable. So not only was it saving us money every month, it was also saving us time. If we didn't have cable available to watch, then we weren't going to waste time watching TV. So this is something that we did. We kind of took a drastic step because we knew if we didn't, we probably would not do what it took to start our business. So that was one thing that we did. As I mentioned before, we stopped going to the grocery store together. Not that we didn't want to spend time together, but we just knew that if one of us went, the other person could do something else while that looking and saying, okay, what can we do to basically like steal back some of our own time to be able to work on this business? So I would encourage you to do the same if you've never done this type of activity. When you start working on it, the first thing that you have to do is decide what is non-negotiable. And what I mean by that, these are things that you have to have. For instance, sleep. All of us have to have sleep as human beings. Eating. I don't know about you, but I need to eat. Quality time with your children. That's something that was non-negotiable to us. Quality time with your spouse. Also non-negotiable for us. And work if you're still at a 9 to 5. This is something that's non-negotiable. However, I will say about work, if you have a goal to maybe leave your job in so much time, it may be possible to do part-time at your work. And I've talked to people about this before, and some people say, well, how do you know? Like, could you approach them and ask? So, work is a non-negotiable, but the amount of time you're there might be negotiable depending on your circumstances. All right, the next thing you have to do, once you get your non-negotiables down in your calendar, you have to decide what you want. And I mean, what do you really want? If you're trying to start an online business to free yourself from another job, when are you going to work on that? If that is your ultimate goal, then you have to schedule in some time to work on it. And I think, it sounds so simple, but a lot of people overlook this. So this is where you're going to put that down. If you have kids, when is your backup work time going to be? Because we all know life happens. Even if you don't have kids, life happens sometimes. And in the middle of your work time for your website, maybe somebody calls you and says, hey, I need you to pick me up. I have a flat tire on the side of the road or whatever. These are things that we sometimes have to take care of. So when have you scheduled backup time to work? And more importantly, and this is the hard part about this conversation, what are you going to give up to get what you really want? Remember how we talked about earlier, we have a finite amount of time. We all have the same amount of time. So if you think you don't have enough time to start or grow your online business, it's because your priorities are on something else. And I'm going to say that one more time because I just want to make sure that you get this, because this is the whole point of what I'm trying to tell you today. If you think you don't have enough time to start or grow your online business, it's because your priorities are on something else. And I have to tell myself this too. I'm not picking on the viewers and listeners out there. This is something that Shane and I have to tell ourselves. Sometimes we'll catch ourselves saying, oh, I don't have time to do that. We all have the same amount of time. The reason that some people are making this work and some people aren't is because they are putting their priorities in the right place or the wrong place, depending on where you fall on that side of the equation. Okay. So what I want you to do instead is to try this. Instead of saying, I don't have time to do blank, what you should say instead is, I chose to do blank instead of blank. Okay. So let me give you some examples. Instead of creating content for my website, I chose to watch The Bachelor. Instead of emailing the people on my email list, I chose to catch up with a friend on Facebook Messenger. Instead of working on my website, I chose to talk to the other moms at baseball practice. Okay. So when you start thinking about it in those, a crutch of, I don't have time to work on my website. I don't have time to email the people on my email list. I don't have time to create content. No, instead of doing this, I chose something else. That's putting the responsibility on you. And that's where the responsibility should be. So I think a lot of times we want to use time or lack thereof as a convenient out. Oh, I just don't have time. No, you chose to do something else. And I'm not mad at you. I understand, because I have been there before, and I still have to do this from time to time. I still have to remind myself of this. So I'm not sitting up on my high horse saying I do this correctly all the time and you don't. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say sometimes I think that we have to really take a hard look in the mirror and say, do I really not have time, or am I making excuses? Okay. So all those things I mentioned, like talking to people on Facebook Messenger, talking to moms at baseball practice, those things aren't bad. I'm not trying to say that they're bad. But until you decide that you don't want to live the way you've always lived, or maybe the way that other people live, and you decide that you want to do something about it, and I mean really do something about it, you will never have enough time. Okay? So when people tell me they don't have enough time, what I hear is, my mindset is not ready to take the next step. My mind is not ready to go to the next level because I'm not prioritizing my business or getting my business started. Okay. These are some hard truths today. I mean, it's hard to talk about these things. And I think a lot of times we sort of want to give people permission. We do this too. Oh, well, I know that you have a lot of kids and your life's really busy. Yeah, you probably don't have time. No, you do. It's just you not moving you closer to your goals. So we have people in our community. I can think of one person who has 7 children. I can think of another person who has 6 children. These people are making it work. So if you don't have more than 6 or 7 children, then you don't have that excuse. And even if you do, you still don't have that excuse, because we all have the same amount of time. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with this quote today. And I've said it many, many times on the Flip Lifestyle podcast. If it is important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So stop finding excuses today. You do have time. Choose to spend it in the ways that are helping you to reach your goals, rather than spending it in ways that do not help you reach your goals. If you would like some help prioritizing your time, we have a course about this in our Flip Your Life community. It is totally free to join for the first 30 days. We would love to have you. All you have to do is head over to flip.com/free to join today. That's fliplifestyle.com/free. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you soon.